If you, like a lot of people, think that it's too late and you're too old to start training, or maybe it's not worth the while, in today's podcast, I speak to Ruth Barnes, one of our key members at Witness the Fitness Training Studios, and we pretty much talk through her life, and there is some information and advice in there that's absolute gold. To quote Ruth and what we're going to talk about, some of the key pointers in today's podcast: it is never too late and you just need to do it. We're going to talk swimming, running, and lifting weights, and I can guarantee you're going to get some great advice from it. Let's go. Discussions and ramblings of everything fitness, health, and nutrition. Let's go. That's me. Amazing. This is the kind of stuff that we want to. So we're going to just.
But I'm just thinking, if my dad won the way he was, there's no way that I probably would be doing. I don't know whether I would be doing what I'm doing. It's that initial, like you say, up to the age of 8. Our influential. Because I don't know if my mum would have done the same with me. Because my mum always rode a bike. She'd go to work on a bike. I mean, they bought this piece of land in Wollerton, and they built this bungalow. But my mum was from Borwell, and I think that's where her work was. But she did catch the bus, she cycled. So, and if you look at my mum now, who's 89, who's really only on a bit of blood pressure tablets. Her family have all had cancer, diabetes. I don't think they've had strokes.
Would you say they've been less active?
But really bad diabetes, because they were always. My mum was brought up in a pub. My grandma and granddad had the pub in Borwell. My mum played the piano, but she was the second youngest, so she really didn't have to get involved in the business. Now, her older brothers and sisters, they did, you see. But there's only my mum left. There was 8 of them. There's only my mum left, and she was second youngest. But I can remember going to like hospices and stuff, and all the feet were all, all gangrene. My grandma was gangrene. She had both legs off.
So the diabetes was a bit.
So my mum's always worried about that, and my mum's always looked after herself as far as, sugar and salt and stuff like that. And
so would you say there's a big difference between your mum and your dad in terms of like
fitness,
physical activity,
fitness, but as in eating, she does watch what she eats. Yeah.
So obviously we didn't catch up on the thing on the film. So you were talking about the Radford swimming steps.
Yeah.
I was just kind of come back to that. Was that your first? No, kind of full memory of like getting physically active. Your dad taking you swimming and
but it's only him that told me that. I used to sit on the steps and play with my dogs. I can't remember that, but the attraction for me was to go swimming. The vending machines, I don't know how long they'd been out, but this is what you remember, isn't it, as a kid? They were on the wall. They weren't freestanding, they're actually on the wall, and you put your money in and you pulled a drawer out, and it was those Dairy Crunch. And I used to always have one of them.
So you had a bit of positive reinforcement.
So I always had one of them. And then when my mum always met me from school, because I went to school in the local village in Wollerton, we'd walked to and from school. I mean, my mum never drove. That's why she encouraged me to drive. But that's one regret that my mum's always had. She said, you must learn to drive. She always met me with a Milky Bar. And I love white chocolate.
So you was going swimming for the reward.
And then I was going to school for chocolate, picking up with chocolate.
So you may have been a bit apprehensive getting into swimming at the start. When did that kind of take over then? What do you think the kind of key milestone of like swimming just becoming?
I can't really remember. My dad must have just carried on, gradually teaching me, obviously, to swim. Because there's 6 years between me and my sister. So when I was 10, she'd only be 4. So she'd be going swimming, but she wouldn't be obviously in a club, not necessarily, but she wasn't in a club till obviously later on. She must have joined Radford. I can't really remember, because that 6 years is massive when you're that age, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you're 12 and they're 6 and you're 18.
Well, it's when you get 6 weeks holidays and it feels like forever, don't it? And then you get older and it's not any time at all.
Yeah. So it must have been, I can remember I was around 10-ish. And then I got better as the years went on. But whatever I've done, I've had to work hard. Even at school, revising, I had to almost rewrite stuff. Things don't stay with me very good, to be honest. You know what I mean? Keeping things in, sort of thing. But I did do quite well at school. I was average. I've always been sort of average and maybe a little bit above average. But school must have thought I was half decent because of my sport, because they made me head girl. You know what I mean? So I think I've got
some ideas that, because when I spoke to Baz about his history and him still in training and my history, everyone always seems to start off with sport at a young age. And weirdly, when they've got that as part of their package, they seem to find a way. Usually, I see that they keep exercising. So for him, I think it was boxing and martial arts. Obviously, if you were swimming, and me, it was football. But there was always this starting point of just being physically active overall, and then keeping that running
and then
through.
I got ballet as well. I forgot about ballet.
I never knew you did ballet. How long did that last?
Imagine me as ballet. I did the first 3 grades. I never made it to my toes. You know what I mean? I never made it on point.
It's bloody hard though, that is.
Oh, it is. And
getting on point.
Yeah. So yeah, I did ballet. Went to Sissy Smith's up on, and she was really well known back then. Not that I knew. I didn't even know how my mum and dad got me into that, to tell you the truth. But yeah, that was.
Was there any other key milestones then? So you had your swimming.
I had me swimming, and ballet was around the same sort of time because I'd only be young. And then in the village they started gymnastics. I had a little go at that. Oh, I'm very good at that. But I just did a bit of gymnastics.
So you've always been a trier
of different things.
Stuff, which is positive.
Yeah. So I kept swimming until, but this coach that my dad eventually took over from him, this Albert Parish, from the age of about, I would say 11, 12 to 16-ish, he was a massive part in my life, probably more than my dad. For those 4 years, and there was 4 of us. That's when he did those photograph albums. There was 4 of us that knocked.
So he was your swim coach then?
And he took us hiking. He got us through his Bronze Duke of Edinburgh. He'd got no children of his own, and I think he just took us under his wing, just us 4. It was really weird. It was Pamela and Christine Swan, and they were really good swimmers. And then she had a brother Malcolm. He didn't really come round with us. No, it was Gillian Vernon. She used to live next door to him. He lived near Knoll Street swimming baths. He never drove. He rode a tandem. Him and his wife used to go out on a tandem. And he took us hiking all around Derbyshire. And this was obviously in his own. He was retired then, because like I say, he was 70 when he started taking us swimming.
See, if you think like all the red tape that we've got nowadays, the chance of even that happening now would be like, it just, weirdly, it'd probably be frowned upon. But here's you, and that was a really positive thing. This guy was a really positive guy. But you can imagine that, even if someone wanted to do that nowadays, which I don't think many people would, I don't know, we're too self-absorbed. But just him being the swim coach is one thing, but then him going out his way going, do you want to come to a hike because we're coming here and here and here? You've got no chance doing that nowadays.
He took us all over everywhere. So we swam for those 4 years. That's when I got into open water swimming, and he took us to different lakes. The first year we only did 1 lake. The second year I think we did 2 or 3. But once you get to 16, you become a senior. I never did senior because everything doubled. So I always did 1 mile, 2 miles, and the most I ever did was 3. And then once you become 16, it was like double. Barla was there and back, which was obviously 6 miles. And then they were doing Windermere, which was about 10 to 12 miles, which was going into another level. You know what I mean?
So that's tough.
That's tough, that's, Yeah, it took me 3 attempts to do Barla, and it wasn't the actual distance.
And how old was you then?
15. 14, 15. Yeah, they didn't do it till I was 16.
How many people do you think did it then as well? Like, how popular was it?
It wasn't.
Was it
because
not?
if you look at those pictures and you see the lineup looking at us, there weren't many of us, to be fair. And sometimes the lads would get in before us. They'd get in and get out because it was that bloody cold. Because we always did it. It was always August bank holiday, and it was flipping freezing then, And you didn't wear wetsuits. You just put a bit of grease on, a bit of lanolin just to stop the chafing, and then these bloody massive goggles and these massive hats to keep your head warm.
So that's probably your first instance, whether you knew it or not, of like elite.
Yeah, extreme as well.
Extreme
because
performance and fitness of swimming.
The first year I did it, I got halfway, and there was this I only got halfway, and you had to have your own boat crew. And so it was either somebody in a canoe or somebody in a rowing boat. And my dad always rowed for me. And of course, obviously, try and keep me going for as long as I could. But I just had to I could not physically put my fingers together like that. And I got out, so they put their hand up, you hold onto their boat, and they put the end up, and then a speedboat comes and picks you up.
Drags you out.
She's because you got to get to the other end. And that's where the ambulance is. It took me an hour or 2. I must have had hypothermia. I was shivering for like 2 hours, I think it was. A bit like Charlotte, bless her.
So really, you've been practicing kind of just strenuous activity from a child through teenagers through. So you kind of your hard work acumen. It was weirdly, it's been partly thrust upon you by your dad and then your coach, and you've just kind of gone with it. I find that amazing. I find that amazing.
And we did loads of training, you know, before we did these lake swims, because all the Lidos were open then. There'd been nobody in the pool because it was chucking it down with rain, and we'd get in. You know what I mean? Like at Highfields and Carrington. Yeah.
Lidos, I bet some people don't even know what they are nowadays.
No.
You know, these publicly open pools of water that you just get in, get out as you please.
I mean, he used to swim in the Trent. I mean, the guy that, you know, this Albert Parrish, he used to swim in the Trent, he did, back in the day, which they did, didn't they?
Yeah.
Dad did.
Yeah. Obviously, swimming was a better, I don't know, is it a better level? You know, how much do kids swim nowadays? And I don't know, I think it's as much as when I was a kid, because we used to swim fairly often.
It was a cheaper sort of activity, wasn't it, to do as such. As far as like your Lido, I mean, you could stay there all day, especially on days like this. You know what I mean? You take a pack up and you'd be there all day, wouldn't you?
Yeah, in terms of that,
there's a few slides and
it's a throwback to how physically active we were as a nation again.
Yeah,
and
they were packed.
Decades by decades, we just seem to be less and less physically active.
Yeah.
So if you just kind of talk about what you've just kind of briefly mentioned about how did it go from your teenagers into your then 20s in terms of swimming?
Right, so I kept going. I was club captain.
Club captain.
Club captain. I was,
so everything you've said at the minute, it's like you started off saying, I was just all right.
Yeah, but they do actually.
So high level.
Yeah, they do actually, yeah, and it's nice to be recognised like that, you know what I mean? Because of the effort and the time that you put in. And maybe, do they call it camaraderie? You know, the way that you all come together. Bond, yeah, that's it. You know what I mean? Which I've always loved doing team things.
So how often was you swimming then at we'll just say your peak?
Well, it was like every day, every night, and 3 mornings a week, and then galas every Saturday. And that's when I did my best times. I can't even remember what my best time was. It was front crawl was my favourite stroke. Relays.
So I must say you're swimming pretty much every day for how long of a period would you say?
I'd say 4 years.
So 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years.
Swimming every day.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years.
That definitely is amazing. Just, you know, that's pretty much elite athlete standard. Obviously, your speeds and times, but just doing that sheer amount of training for that amount of time.
But that's all I did. I didn't do anything else, and I wished I'd have supplemented it with other stuff, knowing what I know now.
That's hindsight.
You know what I mean?
So what would you say you would have supplemented? So let's say you take back now and you're swimming as regular. What other things that you know now would you put in there?
I would have done some weight training, I think. I'd have done some strength work. Definitely.
How do you think that'll help, do you reckon?
Oh, definitely. It would have made me a lot stronger. Yeah, definitely. Because it's that pulling it through the water, you know what I mean? Catching the water. But then it's how you catch the water, you know, and stuff like that. I just think...
So obviously back then, was there any of you even talk about...
Yeah, I think there was, but I think Nova. Obviously, they were the elite ones in Nottingham. That was the elite club. I mean, if you made it into Nova, you knew that you were really good, sort of thing, and that was county level. I think they did do weight training, and I think they did. I think they did a bit of running and stuff like that.
So they had some general conditioning.
Yeah.
So where would you say your kind of swimming peaked then? What age, what level?
About 18, I think. 18, because that was 2 years at college, wasn't it? 16 to 18. I would say 18-ish.
That was when you was at your best?
Yeah. And then lads come in, you know what I mean? Then I was about 18. Yeah, my first boyfriend.
You got distracted.
My first real boyfriend. Yeah, I always had a boyfriend, but my first real one was, when I was about 18. Yeah, 18, 19. Went on my first holiday abroad, because Mum and Dad we never went abroad with Mum and Dad. We never got on an aeroplane. My mum won't get in a lift, never mind an aeroplane. Yeah. So, it was always Bucklins and things like that. And we carried on swimming, because we could carry on swimming when we were at Bucklins.
Whether you're at Bucklins or at the sea.
My dad entered us in competitions and all sorts, you know what I mean?
Yeah, go and win that, Ruth. Go and win.
Go and get
some
that
medals.
Yeah. Amazing. But across the road from there was a Gateway Gym, which was on the corner where there used to be a cinema. There was the ABC, and I can't remember. Oh, the Odeon and the ABC. The ABC cinema was on the corner, and I can't think I think it's Guana now or something, some restaurant. Yep. But above there used to be a gym.
So this was your first kind of element of gym.
That was my first
and
gym.
It just convenience where this new job was to then...
It just smack across the road.
So what took you into the gym? What?
I just want to do something different from swimming. I'd had enough of swimming. I'd done like 12 years of it. And I thought, I want to do something different. I don't even know whether I knew anybody.
Did you kind of stop swimming then you was working? So you feel like, you was kind of like,
yeah, just
I'm not
stopped.
doing, and you was just starting to
Yeah.
learn that I need to do something physically active, and you just...
I just transitioned from that to that. And I don't think I even carried on swimming. From the age of 16, 17, I lost contact with Albert Parish. And I always think, why did I lose contact with him?
That medium.
Yeah, it was really weird because I'd gone from like doing life-saving long distance swimming to more competitive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Took that to a different height. And then I got to 21, 22, and yeah, and I think, I don't know what my dad would be then, whether he stopped coaching. It might have been when he stopped coaching, you know. But anyway, I transitioned from that to Gateway, and it was ladies' days and men's days. It was alternate days. And the thing is for me, once I pay for something, I commit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, best way.
You know, well, you can tell by how many classes I do here. But so I just went every single time that I could. And then I got into a bit of bodybuilding, not that I ever competed or anything, but I went to competitions and watched a lot of like Mr. Nottingham, and then I think we had some Olympians come over, they were on at the concert hall, and I got really into shows and stuff, and I absolutely loved it. How did I meet?
So was you strength training then?
Yeah.
And that's all you did?
Yeah.
Just strength training?
Yeah.
And the purpose was just to build physique, would you say, or was it?
I think it was more about weight then in my early 20s, because that's the first time I really weighed myself.
Okay, so you were just trying to
keep trim, I think, you know what I mean, or just maintain weight, I think, weight management. In fact, I'd started that gym, I was late starting my period, but also I think I was about 17 because I was a late developer. And I think I'd started like not dieting, but I joined the gym, wanted to lose a bit of weight, and not that I've always been, I was never big, you know what I mean? I can't even remember what I was. I was something like 9.5 stone, let's say, something like at the age of 21 was the first time that I'd weighed myself.
Tiny.
So I wanted to lose some weight. And I got down to 8.5 stone, actually, funny enough, believe it or not. Because obviously you're aware of weight then, aren't you? And it was just early 20s sort of thing. And I must have been dieting and change of exercise. I didn't have a period for months. I thought, shit, I hope I'm not pregnant.
So you've probably lost too much weight.
Yeah. And I went to a gynecologist, and he says it's because of the change that you've done in your body. And eventually they did come back, and I was all right.
So you'd have, this is a big assumption, but I assume you took your body fat too low. So if you look at kind of scales,
I'm 2 stone heavier now. So you can,
if you look at the scales for women, 12% body fat's essential in women. So usually if you get quite close to that or under that, kind of health and kind of lifestyle can change in a negative aspect. So if you see, it's like you see some of these really ripped, skinny women, it's like the chance of them actually not having a period is quite high, and it's whether there's a question mark whether is that a healthy pursuit or not. But it sounds like you've took swimming where you was doing it all the time, and then all of a sudden there's been that little gap, and you got into a gym, and it's like, I'm going to do this all the time. Was you in there daily then, like you're swimming?
Well, it was alternate days. I think it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and a Sunday morning. Yeah.
I find it amazing as well where you've kind of mentioned that you just went in there to lift weights. And if you think about, we've gone through a period where, to lose weight, people still fall into the trap of barely eat and do a load of cardio. And it just shows you that, any form of exercise and restriction of food's going to end up in desired weight loss. It's just making sure it's healthy or not.
Yeah.
Amazing. So
I don't know how long I was actually there. I must have done a year. I don't know whether I did longer because I wasn't at the co-op for that long. Because when I finished at the co-op, I was still in my early 20s then. I was looking because I must have done a couple of years, I reckon, 1 or 2 years, and I thought I'm not really bothered about doing this catering lot. I was looking because back in the day, Evening Post was the place to look for jobs. And I was looking in the Evening Post, and I got a job at Victoria Leisure Centre, Turkish and sauna attendant. So something completely different again.
But it's still within an active realm,
and
I guess.
Thought I can swim. I've got.
So did you bring back swimming then later on?
Yeah,
just more of a.
And weight training as well. So I did both then. because there wasn't a gym at Gateway. There wasn't a pool at Gateway. It was just I can't even. They must have put me on some sort of program. They must have told me what to do, because obviously that was my first gym experience. I don't know whether, I can't even remember if it was a lot of machines or free weights. I can't remember that. I can't remember that far back.
What do you think your biggest motivator was then, like in your teens, 20s, to kind of keep training? Because obviously you had an influence.
I think it'd been embedded in. I think it had just been, you know,
like, this is what you do.
This is it. That's it. And you know what it's like. You need you fixed. I only function when I've done something like that. You know.
I always do find it strange when someone goes, "I don't get why you do it," and I'm like, if you tasted this fruit,
I know, that's it.
You wouldn't ask that question.
Exactly.
You wouldn't ask it.
That's exactly
You'd
what
be doing the exact same thing as me and you. We're like, this is amazing. Let me do a little bit more of it, because of how good you feel, how you can change and influence your body.
Yeah.
So
after Gateway, I'm just trying to. So I reckon, I don't think Hoofers came in yet. I'm just trying to think of all the different trends, let's say, like Jane Fonda's and stuff like that.
So you had Lycra?
Yeah, definitely. 2-piece as well. I don't know what 2-piece. But I'm just trying to think where I went from. I'm just trying to think in between Gateway. I don't know whether I went to Sherbert's, because I wouldn't have had Ethan yet. So when I had Ethan...
So how old
was 31.
31.
So I'm just trying to think from like 24-ish to 30-ish. I'm trying to think, I would have been at Victoria Leisure Centre, because we started off obviously swimming, and then eventually we had private baths still then, and we still had a laundry at a swimming baths, that's what they used to do.
Combine it all.
Yeah, you used to go for a bath, didn't you, at the private, at the swimming baths, go for a bath. But they took the private baths out, because obviously we were coming into modern day, everybody was getting them at home.
You know, how long ago is that? It's not that long ago.
It isn't, is it?
It just shows you, like...
20s, 40 years.
So 40 years ago,
40 years.
having a bath in a house was not a common thing.
And still private baths. So then, obviously, like I say, everybody was getting their own bath, and that was not so common. They ripped that out and put a gym in. So ideal. I got my gym and my pool. So I must have done that for a few years.
So when you had Ethan, or when you got pregnant,
that was
what happened to your training? What did you do?
So then I needed a creche to carry on, because obviously I had to have someone to look after him.
Little human being.
So I went to Hoofers, and Hoofers was the only place that I could find it. No, there wasn't. One or two of the leisure centres did have creches, but I got into aerobics then. So I went from weight training and doing stuff at Victoria Leisure Centre,
kind of group exercise,
into Hoofers, and I don't even know what made me go to Hoofers, but that was aerobics and step then. I didn't do much weights then.
So there's just a move away from it, doing some more general cardio, group led.
Yeah, and that obviously was 31-ish.
The original time it was all more, all the classes were female dominant still, all aerobics of some sort, no real weights. How long did you kind of...
So I did that until, so let's think, Hoofers.
Would you say you've had any challenges other than, obviously, like having Ethan, getting pregnant, giving birth? That's a challenge, and you've kind of worked your way around it. Is there any other challenges that you saw in that kind of period to then you maintaining physical activity?
It was just getting someone to look after Ethan, why I did something, you know what I mean, as such. Because obviously he was only a baby then. I must have still been I also went to Sherbert's down Hockley, which was Marty Gaines. She opened a chain of, and that was just classes and just more bums, tums and thighs stretches and things like that, because I was pregnant then when I was at Sherbert's. That's right, because they kept saying, because one of the teachers, who I still keep in touch with now, her name's Jenny Gray, when I used to walk in, she used to say, bloody hell, Ruth, stay away, because obviously I was getting bigger and bigger. And I exercised right up as far as I could. But obviously I couldn't jump or anything like that, because I was quite big. I put 2 stone on, which is the average, I think, for a pregnancy. And it was all out here. It was, like whatever. But I carried on, and I did a bit of swimming then as well, obviously. Swimming and Sherbert's, that was it. And then once I'd had Ethan, they didn't do a creche. That's when I joined Hoofers. That was the transition from going to Sherbert's to somewhere where there was a creche. And I did Hoofers for quite a few years, about 4 years.
Did you carry on pretty much training right the way through your pregnancy?
Yeah.
So
all the way through.
Start
to finish. And I had about a 6-week break, just because you'd just got to wait for
let
everything.
Things settle back in.
I had 6 weeks off, and that was it, back into it.
That is amazing. So normally that kind of turnaround is testament to your fitness level and your strength.
And within a week, I'd almost gone back to my weight, because I breastfed, which I always wanted to do, but I mean, you never know whether you're going to be able to do that. I mean, it was August time and it was a red hot summer. And when I went to give birth, they got a load of students in because I was typical of a hot climate, whatever. I'd got all this brown mark around my face, which you can get when you're pregnant. I'd swelled up. My legs were my ankles were quite swollen. That's when I got my varicose veins, I think. I always
bit of
blame
strain
it
on the body.
Yeah. But you know, as soon as I'd given birth, and then obviously started breastfeeding, it was within about a week or 2 weeks, I was back. Everything had just gone back. I've got no stretch marks at all.
Would you have any tips or hope for anyone that's either got pregnant, is pregnant, or thinking about doing it and maintaining like?
I think you just got to keep yourself active as much as you can, definitely.
For me, I think the biggest thing is that lead up.
Definitely.
So it's like, if you want to get pregnant, you need to get super fit first, because your story's quite common. I find from my experience, when I've come across people that train and they then go through pregnancy, those that are fitter and more able going in, it's like, yeah, it was just a thing. Where the people that seem to be like not as physically fit, they struggle, and then once they've given birth, they're taking like a minimum of 12 weeks before they're even like back on their feet properly in terms of knitted back. So that kind of level of physical activity is paramount to just having a really, I'm not going to say this, easier pregnancy.
He was a big baby, but I mean, they had to start me off because he was, I think he quite liked it in there. So they let you go back then. They let you go for 2 weeks, and then I started off. So mine was all like false, if you know what I mean. So it's all like, you know, you've got to ripen the neck of your cervix, then they've got to get this crochet up to, so they have to break your waters, and then they have to put oxytocin in to get your contractions going. I was going to be one of these that flipping squatted, you know what I mean, and moved around. That was it. Once they got that oxytocin in and the contractions started, I just lay there, you know what I mean. But yeah, it's like you say, it's your recovery, isn't it?
So you giving birth did minimal impact on you keeping yourself physically active, would you say? It was just like, I got pregnant, but other than that,
so I was 31. So I mean, it's not old,
an
but it's not
older mother.
Yeah.
So you're starting to move towards,
you
know, the average, what's 35. After that, it starts to become difficult for females to get pregnant. It's not impossible. It just gets a little bit like,
because until you start trying, you don't know how long it's going to take. I think it took us about 6 months.
So you was an older mother that was just fitter, did it quite well with a big baby, and then just got back on.
He was nearly 10 pounds.
Got back on track. That's a big,
I know,
big lad. 35-ish.
Yeah.
So into your 30s.
Yeah.
You've had Ethan.
Yeah, and then divorce.
So you got divorced.
3 or 4 years later.
So
before 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
So what happened to your physical activity at that point then? Was it the same? Was it different?
Right. So when I split up from my husband, I hadn't got anywhere to go. I just wanted to get out. I'd been thinking about it for a long time, about a year. It always takes me a while to get to these sort of things. And I won't go into that, but that's another story. So the only place I could go, because I hadn't got much money, so I had to just go home. Just said, knocked on the door, you know. So my son was 3, and my dad had got into running. He'd been doing my dad had always wanted to run, but never had the opportunity, as such, because he was always working, etc. And so my dad was working full time for the coal board. He'd got an allotment to do. He was coaching swimming, and he always put himself on the back burner sort of thing. And he'd always wanted to run. So when he retired in his 60s, he started running, and he could only just about get round the block. But through swimming, like at Harvey Adam and one,
he's going to have some aerobic capacity there.
Yeah, and also my dad wasn't a brilliant swimmer. His technique was terrible, but his coaching was brilliant. He knew what to do.
He just couldn't.
He just
needed the right coach.
Yeah, that's it. But so in his 60s, he started running, and eventually through Harvey Adam, he joined Knots AC, and he went from just running around the block to doing marathons in under 3 hours. You know what I mean? And that was in his 60s. So I'd watched him do about 4 half marathons at Robin Hood, and every year I kept saying to him, next year, Dad, you know.
So was you running at all that stage?
No,
you was just watching him run?
And it was only when I actually went home. I went home in the June. Robin Hood was in the September. We had those 3 months, and my dad trained me for those 3 months. And I came through in 1:45 for my first half marathon.
Amazing. That is amazing.
I was 35.
You've only just started running, really.
But 3 months, we had about 3 or 4 months it was. But I've been doing aerobics, I've been doing step and stuff like that, but never really ran.
So how often was you running when you started?
4 times a week.
4 times a week.
We were doing it alternate, and then I joined Red Hill for a bit, to do Red Hill Road Runners, just to sort of in between. But I was also gymming as well, because I must have been at either Colt Forum or I've been at Colt Forum then. I won't be at DW, I'll be at Colt Forum.
So if I was to summarise your kind of start in life and fitness, it was a mix of being influenced by people that were just being physically active, or just an opportunity that was just there that you went and did. Because everything you've said you've done, you've just done it, and then done it like a lot consistently. So you got
swimming
pushed in, and then that was every day, and then you kind of evolved out of that, and then you've had this opportunity like, oh, there's just a gym, let me go in, and you're doing it pretty much every other day. You've maintained it through pregnancy. You've had a life-changing event, and then another opportunity just from your dad is
just through going out.
And then you've done that.
It was only about 6
consistently,
months. Yeah,
4 times a week from then.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you've been consistently training every single day, pretty much, give or take, since what, early teens?
Probably since 10.
Since 10.
Yeah.
Right the way through. And at this point, you'd have been what? So that would have been, you'd have been like 35, 40.
I was 35 when I started running. I mean, I've only ever done one.
You did it well.
I did it.
1 hour 45 for your one and only.
And listen to this, right? My dad never wore a watch, right? I don't know how he knew the distance. He'd tell us roughly how.
He'd have planned it. I don't get it. It's like that old school mapping.
It is. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how he did it.
So before sat-navs and watches, how did my dad take us on journeys? He'd get here with a map, and he'd get rulers and stuff and go, right, I'm going to take that and do that. And I guarantee he'd have done the same with just the running. He's like, right, I'm going to do that. That's going to be about a mile.
Yeah.
And he'd have memorised it.
He has.
And it just shows you that you don't need necessarily all these mod cons and all that jazz to just go and have an effective workout.
And he used to run in a shoe, and I can't remember the make now, but it was called Silver Shadow. I can't remember what the make was. They were about 20 quid, and he always ran in Silver Shadows. He loved Silver Shadows. And whenever they came on offer, he'd always get 2 or 3 pairs, you know what I mean? So he'd say, right, we've done so, and I said to him, do you think I'll come in under? I wanted to come in under 2 hours.
You did it by 15 minutes, Ruth.
Do you think I'll come in under 2 hours? He said, definitely. He said, about 1:45. And I tell you what, he stuck with me the whole time. I went out a bit too quick. He said, you've got to slow down. You're going too quick. Right, slow down. And then we was coming up flipping Derby Road, past Wallington Park up Derby Road, and I got cramp really bad in my calves. Anyway, I got over that, and got onto Trent Bridge.
So what did you do to overcome that cramp? What would you say?
I think we just stretched out a bit. And then we just
because I'm assuming after once cramping starts, it's pretty much going to stay with you. So it was just that mental aptitude. I must have just
got over it eventually. But I remember cramping up a little bit. Probably needed some fluid, you know what I mean? Because there was only water stations. I don't think I carried anything around with me. So anyway, we got onto Trent Bridge, and it just seemed like, you know, when you just hit the wall, don't you? Come through the barrier at 1:45. I got how the flip did you know that I was going to do that? Yeah,
amazing.
Which is amazing.
But that's part of that is like once you've lifted weights or done some cardio and experienced it, you get a better feel for what your body can do. And so you know, he's probably realised that you could run that in that pace just based off an average of, well, you ran this 2 mile doing this, so if we scaled that up, you'd have a better idea. Or, you know, it's like if we put out some weights now, because you've lifted a lot, you'd be like, I could lift that, but I can't lift that, and we haven't even touched the weight yet. You have a better idea the more you do it. So definitely. Your dad, the fact that he was doing it so often, just got a natural feel for pacing and
And he used to run in loads of clothing. He'd put like these big fisherman jumpers on, you know what I mean? That if it was raining, they'd get absolutely wet, like a vest, I suppose.
Weighted vest, resistance training, running.
Make us run with his hands behind his back, you know, all sorts. And then we did do a bit of fartlegging. And then you think you're on your way home, talk about mind. And that was one of his sayings. Your mind is your first master. And you think you're on your way home and you say, well, just put this other loop in. You know what I mean? I'm like, on my last legs.
I like that approach.
I know, it's like you, isn't it? You do exactly the same.
I very much do the same.
You do exactly the same.
The biggest thing of building a mindset is removing a finishing point.
Yeah.
Because you'll work to that finishing point.
Yeah.
But as you know in life, just, you know, the transfer from, we'll just say fitness, running into life, fitness and strength crosses over. And there is no finish point in life. And one of the biggest things motivationally that you can suffer with that I find is that you've set this finish point and then that finish point moves and there's more. People get destroyed by it because they're so fixed on, I'm going to stop here.
Yeah.
And then when I remove that stop, which life can do, and you need that ability to just like, no, you're going to carry on. Yes, we was going to stop, but now that situation isn't there. And it just makes you better and stronger. So the fact that your dad pulled that in is probably another way of training you to then just deal with.
I suppose you could put that, you could relate that to loss, couldn't you?
Yes.
When you've lost something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you think they're always going to be there, don't you? You know what I mean? And then as soon as you've lost something, you know,
it's that finishing point again, where like you need the capability physically, mentally to carry on, even when you feel like this is all I've got and this is the finishing point. Well, what happens if that ain't the finishing point? What, for whatever reason, you've got to go that little bit further.
Yeah.
You need to train it.
Yeah.
It makes you more resilient. And there's quite a bit of research around like just mental resilience, physical resilience, and that crossover into natural life. The more pain tolerance you can take in physical training, weirdly, the more pain tolerance you can take mentally as well. It crosses over. So if I get used to just the burn, the wear and tear, the kind of that, we'll just call it the fitness suck, where it's like, this is horrible. When so much shit happens in my life, it will be like, it'll be that much easier to deal with because my body and my mind will be used to, we'll just say pain, discomfort. So your dad was already kind of still teaching you that, even if it was indirect.
And I'm so glad we had that time together because just to sit down and talk. I mean, we did sit down and talk. I mean, he told me a lot about, you know, about his work and stuff like that and things he used to get up to, what they could get up to in those days, you know what I mean? Like riding the belts and stuff like that in the cold board and doing tricks on each other because obviously it was quite dark down there. Yeah. And all the tricks they used to play on each other.
So this is the mines then.
This is the mines, yeah. He was an electrical engineer, but my dad would never give anybody a job that he wouldn't do himself, you know what I mean? So he'd done a lot of crawling, you know. I mean, just his job must have kept him physically active as well, you know, because the amount of crawling he must have crawled for miles and digging and God knows what back in the day. I mean, his dad was a stoker at Moor Green and his dad used to take him to work with him. So that must have been embedded in my dad, you know, from his dad. There wasn't really exercise, but he was taking him to work and showing
generational physicality.
what he was actually doing, because, you know, it was shoveling, wasn't it, back then? Shoveling coal into the burners.
What would you assume that would have been like 6 days a week?
Oh, yeah.
All day?
Yeah.
Shoveling coal?
Yeah.
Just, you know, we're very privileged that I don't think anyone has to do that in our country nowadays.
Well, we've got all machinery now, haven't we? Back then it was steam, wasn't it? Horses, cart,
and weirdly, as a society, we had no other choice. Someone's going to have to do that if we want this standard of life, which is amazing when you look back. And while some people would maybe look at, oh, thank God we don't have to do that, as we've just kind of found out, it was like, wow, yes, that's really rough. It's just showing you that just being exposed to physicality maintains physicality, and it's going to keep you physically active regardless, and it'll pass on. So weirdly, we could do with, in my opinion nowadays, more people just being physical in some way and passing that on to people, because it just moves down the line perfectly from, well, it had been your granddad onto your dad onto you, and then moving that forward. That's amazing.
Victoria Leisure Centre as the Turkish sauna attendant. When that finished, I went back into catering. That was right. Sorry, I'm going back again. Went back into catering, stayed within leisure, worked at Portland Leisure Centre and ran their cafe and bar. And then they just got some spin bikes. the spin bikes had just come in. I had a go at that. I thought I was fit till I had to go at spin.
It's very different, isn't it?
Bloody hell. I looked around, everybody was smiling. I was thinking, fucking hell, this is killing me, you know what I mean? But yeah, so that was my first experience of spin. That was at Portland. I think that's when I met Bridget.
I remember my first experience of spin. I was at college, and my tutor, Vicky Tring, used to work at David Lloyd. Must have been about 16, 17. She took us in. She went, I'm just going to give you a sample of spin. It's just cycling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Got in. I got off that bike and just cowboy legs.
Yeah.
And that was one of my first points where I was like, there's levels to this, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's like you look at certain exercises and you might naively go, I can do that. I'll cycle a bit and it'd just be a complete whirlwind.
But I hadn't cycled for you. I haven't really been cycling. I mean, I used to have a bike as a kid, but we always had a bike as well, you know. So yeah, so that was that. So that was my first experience of spin. That was because I'd moved to Portland Leisure Centre, and that's what was at Portland. So I did spin there, ran their cafe and bar, and then they moved me to Clifton, and I ran Clifton's cafe and bar and the outside catering from there, and I used to use their gym. So I did a bit at Portland.
So you've always stayed in leisure centres where you've had this ability to just go,
be able to,
I'm just going to have a quick blast in the gym. So it's more convenient, I guess.
Yeah. And then my son, I got him into gymnastics. I got him swimming. He wasn't bothered about swimming competitively, but he could swim. So that was great. Then I got him into gymnastics, which was at Rushcliffe. So while he was at Rushcliffe, which was for 2 or 3 hours then, because they had quite long sessions for gymnastics, I used to get in the car, get in straight into Clifton and do a session in there, and then go and have a sauna and then go back and pick him up. So that was great. So I did that for a while. That was Clifton.
So you kind of worked out this way of like work-life balance where it just fit.
Yeah.
I'm then going to sneak in here, then I'm going to pick it, and it was just seamless. Yeah. Was that just by a chance, or did you kind of like plan it? Did you want it that way? Was you aware of that was the way it was working, or?
No, I think it was just right. What can I get him into next? I mean, like I say, I got him swimming. I mean, obviously, I took him as a baby from very young, and then when I was at Portland, her name was Jill Murdoch. She was a swimming instructor, and I said, "Oh, would you take him for some lessons?" Because he won't listen to me, like, you know. So she got him swimming. So I thought, so long as he can do a few lengths, I'm happy with that, you know what I mean? And then as time went on, I thought, right, what can we have a go at now? So we did gymnastics. He was all right. He did that for a little while. And then after that, I got him into taekwondo because my dad went into taekwondo. After running, my dad started taekwondo because he was running at Harvey Adam. He joined this club that he'd seen them doing this taekwondo at Harvey Adam. So that was another incident that he'd ran with Not Say C from Harvey Adam, saw this
club going off.
And had a go. This was all in his 60s. He didn't start all this until he was in his 60s.
So
and he got to second dan, black belt.
So that's a lesson of
So then I got my son into taekwondo.
So was your dad swimming throughout most of his life, and then as he retired, he just opened up the amount of?
No, he didn't. He didn't start coaching until I started swimming. So I started swimming.
So he started later
10.
then.
Yeah.
And he's just encouraged you to start earlier.
Yeah, he must have swum a little. He must have gone swimming as a kid or something.
So by this point, you're like 40-ish.
Yeah.
What do you think's changed in terms of your view on fitness, health, from like those set points, or do you kind of view it the same? Like
I think you just evolve. I think, don't you? Somehow, you know, like along the way, like you know, like you sort of aerobics and step was, you know, all in then, and then I went into spin, and then what did I do after that? Oh, it was always, the gym's always been there, I think, in the background, you know, either, you know, a few weights or...
So you've always maintained weight. So you use the classes for cardio and then you go into the gym to lift weights.
Yeah, but nothing like what I'm doing now. This is the most heaviest weight I've ever lifted. Even when, I forgot about Winner's Gym, which was hardcore bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Or the doorman.
Spit and sawdust.
All the doorman used to go there. And that's where I met my husband.
So how old was you when you kind of moved into the more, we'll just say, extreme weightlifting?
That was that was the other thing at Victoria Leisure Centre. When I was at Victoria Leisure Centre, I forgot about that. When we was on, because it was Turkish days and sauna days were alternating with the men. obviously because it was only ladies only. On one of the Turkish days, this girl came in, and she always used to, obviously go around the Turkish bath, and then she used to, because we had a big lounge, she used to get in the lounge and she used to do some stretching and stuff. And I got chatting to her and one thing and another, and she says, "Oh, I'm looking for a gym." She says, "There is one across the road." That's right. I joined Winners before I actually went to Gateway.
So how did you feel going into that type of gym as a woman?
I went with her. They thought we were lesbians. They thought because we were the only two, and we were the only two women in there.
And maybe you was lifting weights.
We were.
That you was maybe a lesbian.
She was really chunky, and she was really strong. But it was.
So you've weirdly kind of been an indirect flag waver for women lifting weights before you even knew it. You've gone into, back then, I mean, even to a degree now, it's getting better, but even to a degree now, there's still this small pocket of women and stigma that they think that lifting weights is either going to make them bulkier or it's not for them, or, it's a male-dominated area. But back then, it really was a male-dominated area. Women wasn't really the benefit around it, the knowledge around it. It's like, well, we even had some commentators like, don't lift weights, it'll make you less of a woman and less chance of giving birth and all that shit.
Yeah.
So the fact that you've got
in there, it is 40 years ago since
gone in there and just kind of,
and it's still there now. Winners Gym is still there. I mean, you've got to walk up quite a few flights of stairs.
It's all good
exercise. But the Ufers was on the bloody top floor, and Winners was on the top floor. But yeah, I mean, we stayed there for quite a while actually.
So you've been,
and it's changed hands quite a few times as well, but it's still maintained there.
Flag waving for women strength training.
40 years that gym's been there. Forever. Thinking about it.
Did you find that put you off at all? So when you went in there, you've got these maybe weird looks from men, like, what are these?
No,
you was not bothered.
I loved it. No, because I was really into it at that point. That's when I was watching Mr. Nottingham.
Did you feel you could hold your own?
I'm in awe of anybody that, like when they just, how people say, "Oh, it looks ugly," but when someone's bicep curling and you see the bulging, you know what I mean, and bulging shot
the working body.
I think it looks great. I do. I think it looks lovely because what work's gone into that. So they're all on steroids. And whatever, what I mean?
If they're ginormous and vascular, the veins are popping out, then they've probably had some help. But even that aside, you can't just take the steroids.
But the discipline,
yes, this is what I mean.
Strip your body down
and just
get rid of all that fluid and go through all that tanning. You know what I mean? And the posing. Some of it, they do it all to music, don't they?
I mean, it's a lesson in, obviously, like going to that extreme. There's question mark over health. But by looking at someone whether they work out or not, and just by the sheer sight of them, so that first impression that I could probably guess, and I'd be pretty much accurate, what they do is a routine day to day, that they lift weights, that they're conscious of their diet, and they are disciplined and structured, because you can't do that with or without steroids. It don't really matter. You can't get a fit body without these pre-different things. And when you look at someone that's not in shape, by then flip definition, you kind of know that you don't do these things.
Yeah.
And it's not to make it that's a good person, bad person, but like the way you live your life. I already know that you maybe prioritize your health because you're trying to find mastery over your body, and it's not easy to do. But going back to what you just said, I find that amazing that you've strolled in there.
Yeah, and a lot of them are doormen.
Yeah.
They were doormen, so obviously they're working nights. I don't know what they did in the daytime, but obviously train.
Yeah,
they were training. You know what I mean? But they were doormen. A lot of them were doormen.
That was most of your 40s then. So, kind of move forwards into your 50s. Health, fitness. Where was you at? What was you doing?
So I joined Comp Forum because obviously I'd moved to Netherfield. Joined Comp because that was the nearest gym. Met my partner there, my recent partner there, and then so at Comp Forum there was a class called what was it called?
What did you do in it?
It was just strength, wasn't it? But I'm just trying to think.
Is it lift or something like that?
Yeah, whatever they call it. Anyway, it
was a bit like body pump, I bet.
I bet it was like body pump. I'm just trying to think what they called it. Some strength thing, which is like a body pump. Still did spin, Bosu ball, fit ball, kettlebell. Kettlebells came in then. They were all the rage again. Then that Fight Club thing came out. I had a go at that. Did a bit of yoga because Glenn was really into yoga. So I had a go at yoga, a bit of Pilates.
So at this point, was you kind of really starting to just broaden out and just go
try
into
different things.
I'm going to try a bit of that, a bit of that, a bit of that.
Try.
So you've gone from moving away from more traditionally stuff like swimming, running, just lifting weights in the gym to then like, let me just open out to all these different things overall. So did you find that change your perspective anyway? Did you walk in some things were like, that's really not good? Or did you have any kind of epiphany moments where you're like, that I need to start doing that more often? That's really got...
Yeah. I've always enjoyed the strength side of things, and spin. I think the strength and the spin went quite well together. I was fine with those. Yeah, I quite like those. Pilates and yoga. Yes, it is good to stretch, but it's all down to time and to how much time you've got. And I would sooner perhaps do a spin class or a strength class rather than do one of those. But I did try and mix it a little bit, but I won't put it at the top of me,
top of your importance list.
Importance list. And then they started, because some of the classes weren't that popular, they started dropping 1 or 2 classes off.
Yeah.
And that's when me and Glenn made the transition to DW, and then that was different again.
Well, you've gone from
council run gym.
You've gone from a public, which, I say this lightly, quality is not always the best in public gyms for numerous reasons.
Yeah.
And then you've gone into a private one where they generally chuck more money at it. They generally try and get better things in place, equipment, facilities, trainers, whatever. And then, so you've moved that over. How did you find that transition then?
Fine, great, loved it. It's just something different again. You know what I mean? I think it's always keeping that alive, if you know what I mean. Of course, it was Les Mills, a lot of Les Mills into your body, pump your body attack, and your grit and circuits.
Yeah.
And then that's when I met you.
You did meet me.
Yeah, meet you with your spin.
So I'm sure people are dying to know, what was your first impression when you heard,
I thought we don't look very big.
I try.
I thought it's quite slight, you know what I mean? But definitely, I mean, the classes were brilliant. Definitely, yeah, completely different to what I'd done. You know what I mean? Yeah, they were really.
So, what do you think the biggest difference was then? So the kind of way that I was kind of doing it.
I think it's how you project it. You know what I mean? How you put it over. Definitely. I mean, you can spin and you can spin, but the spinning, and there's instructors and instructors.
Spins for me is all about, it's a show.
Yeah.
Because like, if you think about it, strip down just the physical part of it, it's really boring. It's like you're sat on a bike.
Yeah.
Feet going round. You got like 3, maybe 4 positions. And this is where you see some weird stuff online where you get these instructors dancing on it or doing push-up, and I hate that kind of stuff. And they're doing that because it's so boring.
Yeah.
So therefore, how do you get people in? Because it's really effective.
Yeah.
Well, you have to present.
Yeah.
And you have to take people through journeys, and you have to kind of bring enthusiasm and energy. So when they're...
Which you do.
Yeah. Maybe getting bored or maybe getting tired or a bit of both, it's like they ain't going to experience that because they're just going to be a wash of music, sound, intensity, and it carries through. I've done some amazing spin classes and I've done some terrible ones, and the only difference really is just presentation and the instructor.
I mean, look at the 2-hour ones we've done.
Yeah, we've done some
to keep you going, to keep us going for 2 hours
on a stationary bike.
Yeah,
is
amazing.
It is tough.
Yeah, it is good.
It used to be sap my energy because, like I say, not because it was physically it was draining physically, mentally. Just projecting that it is tough, but it works. It keeps people engaged. It keeps people motivated.
And your classes are always interesting. You know what I mean? And you're so enthusiastic, and you would never know whether you're having a good day or a bad day. Because to me, you're always having a good day because you're just so enthusiastic, and that counts a lot.
That's one of my pet peeves with the fitness industry and some instructors, where straight away you know if they're having a bad day, and it's like, my opinion is like, no one cares.
Yeah,
they're not there for that.
No,
they're there for a workout. They're there to be energized. They're there because you're meant to be this beacon of like, this is empowering and good. And it breaks my soul because I've seen it in the industry. You walk in and go, oh, I'm so tired. You know what? I can't be arsed either. What the fuck are you talking about?
Exactly.
That is literally at the bottom of the thing that should be said. Even if you felt that way,
you shouldn't.
This ain't the environment for it.
No.
So, should you be there? Because you're not helping. And I find that demotivating. Well, if you can't be arsed, fucking hell.
Yeah.
What hope have I got?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's that should be an written rule. And part of me is like, I'm happy to hear that I do that well.
You do.
But I shouldn't be the exception.
No, yeah.
It should be the rule as far as I'm concerned. Every single instructor should do it. And I know some people do it well and some people don't, but it's too common where you just know that.
And I would always give it a go with a different instructor, and then if I don't like, I've seen people walk out of classes. I would never do that, because I could just imagine if I was stood at the front, I wouldn't want that. But then I wouldn't do it again. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I mean, I never did I don't think I did HIIT. That was really hard. HIIT was.
Yeah.
And it was in that little tiny room, wasn't it? It's like a sweatbox, wasn't it? In there.
Yeah. So they put me in that little sweatbox of a room simply because they knew I'd get on with it.
Yeah, which you always did.
Yeah.
And boxing was good. And that was the first time I'd done any boxing, and I loved that. It was just getting used to the routines and stuff. And then your circuits on a Friday night, I used to love that. That was brilliant.
Yeah, it used to be dead busy, didn't it?
Yeah, it was really good. And then obviously you set this up.
Yeah.
I didn't come straight away, but just let you get going and one thing another. And then I've been here ever since.
That
5 years now. You've been here.
It'll be approaching 7 years.
So it must have been nearly 6 then. I think.
You came about 12 months after wasn't it, roughly?
Yeah.
So how do you think your fitness has evolved through that time then? So you've kind of gone through 50s towards 60s. How do you see your journey of the way you're using health and fitness? What's changed through them kind of points? What's the key parts?
You like to think you change with the trends, if you know what I mean, as such. And I think that's what's happened with me, you know what I mean? And I've hopefully tried to embrace each one that I've had a go at, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then since I've been here, like I would do a pump class and I'd be scared, really. You know, when I did Les Mills's pump, which we did for 3 months, whatever, the same routine, I never really put a lot of weight on. I mean, I don't think I've ever shifted as much weight as what I'm doing now. You know, and I'm in my 60s.
Why do you think that is? What's the biggest difference?
Well, I think it's down to you encouraging me as well, saying, you know, that you can do it, giving me the. The way when I'm training with you, Pete, I just feel like you give me the confidence to do that little bit more, because I feel like, because we're not necessarily on a one-to-one, but because you know us all so well, like you said to us before, you know at least one or two things about all of us. I feel like I don't want to get injured or anything like that. And I feel like I know that you know me, you know, to be able to say, I think you could do that bit more, you know what I mean? You don't say, put that weight on, you know what I mean? You let me come to my own decision, which I like, you know what I mean? You're not forceful like that.
So one of the biggest things I learned as a trainer is you have to you're more of a mentor.
Yeah.
So years ago, I'd have gone, you should lift that weight. That's where you're at.
Yeah.
But then it's my decision.
Yeah.
Which is then you can end up like non-action, because that's not you making that decision. Where I go, you've got more capability and maybe we should think about putting that weight up.
Yeah.
You're then conscious of the thought. Then you'll either come back and ask me or you'll just put it up a little bit and it'll be about right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so part of that is just an instructor empowering people to kind of make the decision themselves, give them the information, give them the unbiased mirror. And, you know, because there's instances where you go, that's a bit too heavy. We need to reduce that. But I won't go, take that much off and do this, because they need to ask me that, if that makes sense. They need to go through that thought process themselves to really get the maximum benefit out of it and to build that self-confidence and to know that they can master it themselves. So it's a big element. And you already mentioned that you feel like strongest now than ever.
I can't really remember what I was doing at Winners. I mean, we must have shifted a bit of weight there, but I was probably like, I think we did lift quite a bit, because obviously Marie was quite strong then, but I can't remember what we were lifting, to be honest. Because like I say, it's 40 odd years ago. But I think if I compare DW to here, definitely lifting more here, because of the facilities that you've got, because of the Olympic stuff that you've got in there as well. and the amount of weight that you've got here as well, you know, as such. Kettlebell swing. I mean, I did a kettlebell class probably with an 8.
Yeah.
I never thought I could swing a 20, 24. I mean, probably a bit more, but
you could probably do a little bit more. Just
you know
saying.
What I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So
I never thought in a million years I'd ever swing a 24.
So I come across loads of people that would just say are moving through 50s, 60s. And one thing I get a lot of these people that maybe haven't trained for long periods of time or even ever at all is like this sentiment is like, it's too late. What would you say to that?
It's never too late, definitely. Because, I mean, I've experienced it with Glenn. I mean, Glenn never did much exercise until he wanted to get out of the house, you know, because he wanted to get away from his ex-wife, bless her. And he started yoga. He started with yoga. And then he went into spin. And then he went into pump. And then when he met me, he started running and did his first half marathon. And then from there, it's just part of his life now, you know what I mean? And he didn't come into that until he was 50-ish. Me and my dad didn't start running until he was 60. So obviously they're proof, you know, there's just 2 incidents that it's never too late.
So both yourself and Glenn are healthier now, well, especially Glenn, because he had that period where he didn't really do anything and it's not till his 50s. And it just shows you that you can get benefit regardless of what age. And where that's backed up by all the research as well, it kind of alludes that, you know, you may the kind of levels that you may get to is different, and that can be frustrating.
Yeah.
But in terms of getting the physical and the mental benefits from it, it's just like crack on.
It definitely, and it just I think hopefully it has kept me on an even keel all the way through my life, to be honest.
I mean, one thing I get from other members here, Ruth, is like how much of a kind of beacon you are. Aww. You're a kind of benchmark for people, because I get comments like, I just want Ruth's arms. I want to be just as strong as Ruth when I'm in my 50s, 60s. I want to maintain that. And you're just showing by example without, you know, putting on anyone. You just being here and shining and just doing you is having a profound effect on people coming through. Pretty much like what your dad's done, I guess.
Yeah.
Where you've just been this natural, sometimes indirect thing going, no, I'm living my life this way, and there is an evident benefit from it that I don't even need to tell you about. You can see it, and it influences people. And we only have to look around the world. You know, how many people in their 60s are in shape, got good cardio, really strong, good mobility, trains 6-7 days a week.
Yeah.
Oddly, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it just shows you that when people are then pulling back their age, that it's a bit of a false lie. It's a bit of an excuse, because you're a prime example. And to those that then go, well, Ruth's done it for her whole life and she's got that advantage, even though that was your advantage to take. It's not technically true, because then you apply someone like Glenn, where he's like, well, no, he didn't. He hasn't done it.
Yeah.
He did it here a lot later on.
Yeah.
And still doing it and still getting the benefit. So really, anyone that's thinking about starting that may be blocking through age it's partly like you just it's bullshit, really.
It is, definitely.
It's understanding what level you go into, and that's where you may need someone like me to kind of go, this is where your starting point is. You know, you ain't going to be lifting that weight, you ain't going to be doing this, you need to work on this. And that's the hard bit, knowing where to start, but having kind of using that as a reason not to start should never really be a thing, I don't think.
Definitely not. Yeah, without a doubt.
That was most of your 40s then. So kind of move forwards into your 50s, health, fitness. Where was you at? What was you doing?
So I joined Comp Forum because obviously I'd moved to Netherfield. Joined Comp Forum because that was the nearest gym. Met my partner there, my recent partner there. And then, so at Comp Forum, there was a class called, what was it called?
What did you do in it?
It was just strength, wasn't it? But I'm just trying to think.
Is it lift or something like that? You know?
Yeah, whatever they call it. Anyway, it
was a bit like body pump, I
bet. It was like body pump. I'm just trying to think what they called it. Some strength thing, which is like a body pump. Still did spin, Bosu ball, fit ball, kettlebell. Kettlebells came in then. They were all the rage again. Then that Fight Club thing came out. I had a go at that. Did a bit of yoga because Glenn was really into yoga, so I had a go at yoga. A bit of Pilates.
So at this point, was you kind of really starting to just broaden out and
just
go
try
into,
different things.
I'm going to try a bit of that, a bit of that, a bit of that.
Try.
So you've gone from moving away from more traditionally stuff like swimming, running, just lifting weights in the gym to then like, let me just open out to all these different things overall. So did you find that change your perspective anyway? Did you walk into some things like, that's really not good? Or did you have any kind of epiphany moments where he's like, that I need to start doing that more often? That's really got.
I've always enjoyed the strength side of things, and spin. I think the strength and the spin went quite well together. I was fine with those. Yeah, I quite like those. Pilates and yoga. Yes, it is good to stretch, but it's all down to time and to how much time you've got. And I would sooner perhaps do a spin class or a strength class rather than do one of those. But I did try and mix it a little bit, but I won't put it at the top of me,
Top of your importance list.
Importance list. And then they started to, because some of the classes weren't that popular, they started dropping 1 or 2 classes off.
Yeah.
And that's when me and Glenn made the transition to DW. And then that was different again.
Well, you've gone from
council run gym.
You've gone from a public, which, I say this lightly, quality is not always the best in public gyms for numerous reasons.
Yeah.
And then you've gone into a private one where they generally chuck more money at it. They generally try and get better things in place, equipment, facilities, trainers, whatever. And then, so you've moved that over. How did you find that transition then?
Fine. Great. Loved it. It's just something different again. You know what I mean? I think it's always keeping that alive, if you know what I mean. Of course, it was Les Mills, a lot of Les Mills into your body pump, your body attack, and your grit and circuits.
Yeah.
And then that's when I met you.
You did meet me.
Yeah, meet you with your spin.
So I'm sure people are dying to know, what was your first impression when you heard,
I thought we don't look very big.
I try.
I thought it's quite slight, you know what I mean? But definitely, I mean, the classes were brilliant. Definitely, yeah, completely different to what I'd done. You know what I mean? Yeah, they were really.
So, what do you think the biggest difference was then? So the kind of way that I was kind of doing it.
I think it's how you project it. You know what I mean? How you put it over. Definitely. I mean, you can spin and you can spin, but the spinning, and there's instructors and instructors.
Spins for me is all about, it's a show.
Yeah.
Because like, if you think about it, strip down just the physical part of it, it's really boring. It's like you're sat on a bike.
Yeah.
Feet going round. You got like 3, maybe 4 positions. And this is where you see some weird stuff online where you get these instructors dancing on it or doing push-up, and I hate that kind of stuff. And they're doing that because it's so boring.
Yeah.
So therefore, how do you get people in? Because it's really effective.
Yeah.
Well, you have to present.
Yeah.
And you have to take people through journeys, and you have to kind of bring enthusiasm and energy. So when they're,
which you do,
maybe getting bored or maybe getting tired or a bit of both, it's like they're going to experience that because they're just going to be a wash of music, sound, intensity, and it carries through. I've done some amazing spin classes and I've done some terrible ones, and the only difference really is just presentation and the instructor.
I mean, look at the 2-hour ones we've done.
Yeah, we've done some.
To keep you going, to keep us going for 2 hours
on a stationary bike.
Yeah,
is
amazing. It is
tough.
Yeah, it is good.
It used to be sap my energy because, like, say, not because it was physically, like, it was draining physically, mentally. Just projecting that is tough, but it works. It keeps people engaged. It keeps people motivated.
And your classes are always interesting. You know what I mean? And you're so enthusiastic, and you would never know whether you're having a good day or a bad day. Because to me, you're always having a good day because you're just so enthusiastic, and that counts a lot.
That's one of my pet peeves with the fitness industry and some instructors, where straight away if they're having a bad day, and it's like, my opinion is like, no one cares.
Yeah,
they're not there for that.
No,
they're there for a workout. Yeah. They're there to be energized. They're there because you're meant to be this beacon of like, this is empowering and good. And it breaks my soul because I've seen it in the industry. You walk in and go, oh, I'm so tired. You know what? I can't be arsed either. What the fuck are you talking about?
Exactly.
That is literally at the bottom of the thing that should be said. Even if you felt that way,
you shouldn't.
This ain't the environment for it.
No.
So, should you be there? Because you're not helping. And I find that demotivating. Well, if you can't be arsed, fucking hell, what hope have I got?
Yeah.
So it's that should be an unwritten rule. And part of me is like, I'm happy to hear that I do that well.
You do.
But I shouldn't be the exception.
No, yeah.
It should be the rule as far as I'm concerned. Every single instructor should do it. And I know some people do it well and some people don't, but it's too common where you just know that.
And I would always give it a go with a different instructor, and then if I don't like, I've seen people walk out of classes. I would never do that, because I could just imagine if I was stood at the front, I wouldn't want that. But then I wouldn't do it again. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I mean, I never did I don't think I did HIIT. That was really hard. HIIT was.
Yeah.
And it was in that little tiny room, wasn't it? It's like a sweatbox, wasn't it? In there.
Yeah. So they put me in that little sweatbox of a room simply because they knew I'd get on with it.
Yeah, which you always did.
Yeah.
And boxing was good. And that was the first time I'd done any boxing, and I loved that. It was just getting used to the routines and stuff. And then your circuits on a Friday night, I used to love that. That was brilliant.
Yeah, it used to be dead busy, didn't it?
Yeah, it was really good. And then obviously you set this up. Yeah. I didn't come straight away, but just let you get going and one thing another. And then I've been here ever since.
Yeah,
5 years. 5 years now. You've been here.
It'll be approaching 7 years.
So it's been nearly 6 then. I think.
Yeah, you came about 12 months after wasn't it, roughly?
Yeah.
So how do you think your fitness has evolved through that time then? So you've kind of gone through 50s towards 60s. How do you see your journey of the way you're using health and fitness? What's changed through them kind of points? What's the key parts?
You like to think you change with the trends, if you know what I mean, as such. And I think that's what's happened with me, you know what I mean? And I've hopefully tried to embrace each one that I've had a go at, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then since I've been here, like I would do a pump class and I'd be scared, really. You know, when I did Les Mills's pump, which we did for 3 months, whatever, the same routine, I never really put a lot of weight on. I mean, I don't think I've ever shifted as much weight as what I'm doing now. You know, and I'm in my 60s. Yeah.
Why do you think that is? What's the biggest difference?
Well, I think it's down to you encouraging me as well, saying, you know, that you can do it, giving me the. The way when I'm training with you, Pete, I just feel like you give me the confidence to do that little bit more, because I feel like, because we're not necessarily on a one-to-one, but because you know us all so well, like you said to us before, you know at least one or two things about all of us. I feel like I don't want to get injured or anything like that. And I feel like I know that you know me, you know, to be able to say, I think you could do that bit more, you know what I mean? You don't say, put that weight on, you know what I mean? You let me come to my own decision, which I like, you know what I mean? You're not forceful like that.
So one of the biggest things I learned as a trainer is you have to you're more of a mentor.
Yeah.
So years ago, I'd have gone, you should lift that weight. That's where you're at.
Yeah.
But then it's my decision.
Yeah.
Which is then you can end up like non-action, because that's not you making that decision. Where I go, you've got more capability and maybe we should think about putting that weight up.
Yeah.
You're then conscious of the thought. Then you'll either come back and ask me or you'll just put it up a little bit and it'll be about right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so part of that is just an instructor empowering people to kind of make the decision themselves, give them the information, give them the unbiased mirror. And, you know, because there's instances where you go, that's a bit too heavy. We need to reduce that. But I won't go, take that much off and do this, because they need to ask me that, if that makes sense. They need to go through that thought process themselves to really get the maximum benefit out of it and to build that self-confidence and to know that they can master it themselves. So it's a big element. And you already mentioned that you feel like strongest now than ever.
I can't really remember what I was doing at Winners. I mean, we must have shifted a bit of weight there, but I was probably like, I think we did lift quite a bit, because obviously Marie was quite strong then, but I can't remember what we were lifting, to be honest. Because like I say, it's 40 odd years ago. But I think if I compare DW to here, definitely lifting more here. because of the facilities that you've got, because of the Olympic stuff that you've got in there as well, and the amount of weight that you've got here as well, as such. Kettlebell swing. I mean, I did a kettlebell class, probably with an 8.
Yeah.
I never thought I could swing a 20, 24. I mean, probably a bit more, but
you could probably do a little bit more. Just
you know
saying.
What I mean? Yeah.
So
I never thought in a million years I'd ever swing a 24.
So I come across loads of people that would just say are moving through 50s, 60s. And one thing I get a lot of these people that maybe haven't trained for long periods of time or even ever at all is like this sentiment is like, it's too late. What would you say to that?
It's never too late, definitely. Because, I mean, I've experienced it with Glenn. I mean, Glenn never did much exercise until he wanted to get out of the house, because he wanted to get away from his ex-wife, bless her. And he started yoga. He started with yoga. And then he went into spin. And then he went into pump. And then when he met me, he started running and did his first half marathon. And then from there, it's just part of his life now, you know what I mean? And he didn't come into that until he was 50-ish. Me and my dad didn't start running until he was 60. So obviously they're proof, there's just 2 incidents that it's never too late.
So both yourself and Glenn are healthier now, well, especially Glenn, because he had that period where he didn't really do anything and it's not till his 50s. And it just shows you that you can get benefit regardless of what age. And where that's backed up by all the research as well, it kind of alludes that, you may, the kind of levels that you may get to is different and that can be frustrating.
Yeah.
But in terms of getting the physical and the mental benefits from it, it's just like, crack on.
It definitely, and it just I think hopefully it has kept me on an even keel all the way through my life, to be honest.
I mean, one thing I get from other members here, Ruth, is like how much of a kind of beacon you are. Aww. You're a kind of benchmark for people, because I get comments like, I just want Ruth's arms. I want to be just as strong as Ruth when I'm in my 50s, 60s. I want to maintain that. And you're just showing by example without, putting on anyone. You just being here and shining and just doing you is having a profound effect on people coming through. Pretty much like what your dad's done, I guess.
Yeah.
Where you've just been this natural, sometimes indirect thing going, no, I'm living my life this way. And there is an evident benefit from it that I don't even need to tell you about. You can see it and it influences people. And we only have to look around the world, how many people in their 60s are in shape, got good cardio, really strong, good mobility, trains 6-7 days a week.
Yeah.
Oddly, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it just shows you that when people are then pulling back their age, that it's a bit of a false lie. It's a bit of an excuse because you're a prime example. And to those that then go, well, Ruth's done it for her whole life and she's got that advantage, even though that was your advantage to take. It's not technically true, because then you apply someone like Glenn where he's like, well, no, he didn't. He hasn't done it.
Yeah.
He did it here a lot later on.
Yeah.
And still doing it and still getting the benefit. So really anyone that's thinking about starting that may be blocking through age it's partly like you just it's bullshit, really.
It is, definitely.
It's understanding what level you go into, and that's where you may need someone like me to kind of go, this is where your starting point is. You ain't going to be lifting that weight, you ain't going to be doing this, you need to work on this. And that's the hard bit, knowing where to start, but having kind of using that as a reason not to start should never really be a thing, I don't think.
Definitely not. Yeah, without a doubt.
Right, Ruth, we're going to do some quick fire questions. So I've got 10 questions for you, and then I just try not to think about it too much. Just let me know, or just kind of give me some straight to the point. So first question, do you prefer a morning workout or an evening workout?
Don't mind either.
Don't mind,
Just take it. Take it
whenever. Just get it in. Perfect. I think I already know the answer to this one. Do you prefer strength or cardio? Strength. Yep, I would have thought that. What would you say is your go-to healthy snack?
I like any type of bar, like a cereal bar. Bananas, nuts, raisins, dried fruit, anything like that. Just peanut butter, anything like that.
So when you say peanut butter, is that just
Yeah, I could do, but I do like. You suggested eating with apple.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
lovely.
It's
A spoonful of peanut butter and an apple sliced up, and just anything
the
like
contrast,
that.
and
It's lovely.
it's nice.
Even on toast.
Yeah.
And with a bit of honey on. Yeah, anything like that.
Good. So
that's all right-ish.
Real foods, pretty much.
Yeah.
What would you say is your favourite group fitness class?
I do like TRX.
Yep.
I do like Strong.
Yep.
There's too many, really.
All the strength ones
Metcon.
again, though.
I do like Metcon.
I like Metcon. So that crossover into
True
more
Grit's nice,
functional.
but good, but it's hard. I have to be psyched up for that.
And it is more cardio-esque.
Yeah.
Cool. What is your preferred workout attire? What's your get-up like?
I just wear like a crop top with a vest on top and leggings. Yeah.
So gone are the days of the two-piece lycra.
Yeah, I don't like the middle bit showing.
Yeah,
it's a bit too much hanging over.
That's going to stay back with fonder, I guess.
Yeah, that's it.
Have you got a favourite motivational quote or something that motivates you well?
Just do it.
Just do it.
I like the night one. Just do it. I've always liked that.
Just get on with it, straight to the point.
Or I'll be back.
Yeah.
Arnold.
That's one of my sayings. I'll be back. I'll be back for you.
I'll be back.
Yeah. Have you got a dream fitness location or destination? Where would you like to work out? Is there anywhere like?
Just WTF.
Yeah, witness the fitness. That's what I like to hear. Yeah. Do you have a pre-workout routine or ritual? So before you come into your sessions, have you got like a weird ritual or routine that you set?
Go to the toilet. Always go to the
nervous
toilet.
Wee. So
always
nervous wee.
Nervous way. Get my gun out.
A bit of a massage gun.
Get my gun out, and then maybe just a few stretches before you stretches. If most things are normally hurting. Yeah, get the rollers out or whatever. Yeah, I like to get here. I don't like to be here 5 minutes before. I like to be here a good 15 minutes before, just to just get a bit moving.
Me personally, I think you have to get yourself in the mode.
You do, yeah.
And these people that just kind of like rush in at the point, and I'm like, how are you getting yourself up?
I don't.
Because I have to have that bit of a build up.
I do. I like that.
You get your stuff out. You do a
and you can have a bit of a natter.
Yeah, you have a chit chat with some of the regulars, and then I feel, I'm feeling I'm in the mode.
I'm ready.
And these people come
in,
and
then the music's on, and that's it.
So really, they should just come in a bit earlier and just get themselves like properly prepped.
I think so, definitely.
What's your least favourite exercise?
Legs. I don't like legs. I never have done.
Any particular squats or just legs in general?
Just legs in general.
Why do you think that stems from?
Work.
It is hard, isn't it?
The biggest muscles, aren't they? And they're bloody hard.
Yeah. I've got this thing, when I'm like doing upper body, I seem to be able to tolerate the pain more.
I do.
And as soon as I'm on my legs, it just seems doubly hard, and it's really hard for me to just take more of that burn and that that experience where my upper body seems a bit happier, and I've got no reason, I've got no understanding other than I just find it fucking horrible.
Maybe it's just big muscles, isn't it? Take up more energy and more oxygen and whatever.
Riding it out a little bit more. What is your favourite way to relax after a tough workout? So you've smashed yourself. What are you doing?
Yourself. Well, obviously you go home, don't you? Have a shower, get something to eat, refuel. Always eat after. I can't eat before. I have to leave a good 4 hours. I can have like a little snack thing or something, or a sweet drink, like a bit of fruit juice or something. But afterwards, shower, something to eat, TV.
Just chill. A few recovery methods, and then just chill out.
Sometimes it's even hot water bottle or ice pack, whichever one, you know what I mean? Just depending upon what's hurting the most.
Right, Ruth, we're going to summarise, and I just want you to kind of think about the impact of fitness and health has had on your life, and what you think, like, how it's impacted your life or the way you live overall.
To me, it's a way of life. It's, it's just get up and, do something every day, to be honest. Even if it's if on my days off, even if it's going for a walk, I just like to keep moving, you know what I mean? Walking, swimming are the least things. And then obviously when I come here, I know that it's going to be hard hitting depending upon what you throw at us, because we never know what you're going to throw at us. And even when you put it on the board, it can change. Yeah, you might tweak it.
Or you might look at it slightly different to what it would be. So how would you say it's enhanced your life, just being fitter, healthier, even especially as you kind of go through 60s?
I think it's definitely kept me on an even keel all the way through. I'd like to say that I've never really felt, I don't think I've ever really been depressed. I don't think I have. It's just just kept me on an even keel.
And, do you feel it gives you that outlet then?
Yeah, definitely. And the people that I've met along the way, I still keep in touch with now, even, like going 40 years back, and we still meet up to this day, because obviously I've met different groups of people, but we still stayed. We've all gone separate ways. We've all gone to different gyms. Some have obviously come here, but then I've met a new group of people here. And also we've got new people coming through the door all the time.
How big would you say that community aspect is? Because obviously it's cropped up everywhere you've gone.
The actual groups have gone from 6 to like 8 people ish that have moved along the way, if you know what I mean.
So there's always a tight knit number that you would say that then you surround yourself with that generally has a positive impact on maintaining it.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you say that's one of the most like crucial things for you doing it, or is it just kind of
a bit of both? Bit of both, to be fair. Yeah, that's the cherry on the cake, I think. Because even if they weren't here, I would still do it. Because I've obviously must have motivated myself throughout all the years to go from one place to the other, and people haven't moved with me. You know what I mean? So it's not that, but you're with like-minded people, I think, and that's just how you. And it's a social thing for me as well. It's definitely been a social thing. It's been the whole package. If someone said to me, would you sooner go and sit in a pub or go to a class, it would be come to do a class all the time. And when people ask me out now, I have to think which night I want to give up, you know what I mean? And that's a hard decision.
Do you ever get any kickback from that? So I've seen and experienced myself, the moment you want to do something generally healthy and positive that you've been doing for all your life, that when you kind of go, oh, no, I've got my gym, they're kind of like, what do you want to do that for? We're meant to be going out. And it's like this, do you ever get any of that? And how do you deal with it?
I think people know me now. Most of my friends know me. It's like me siesta in the afternoon. They won't ring me in the afternoons or anything like that. And they know that, I'm very committed to what I do. And I'm just straight with them. If I don't want to do it now, I've got to that age now.
Yeah.
Whereas if I don't want to do it, I don't do it. You know what I mean? But then I also know that I need to still do a little bit as well. You know what I mean? Balance it out.
But this is where they struggle with that. As you said, it's like, it's a way of life.
It is.
And they don't understand that you're trying to intervene with the way of life. And I really like it. And it's really positive. And it's given me all these benefits
definitely,
that I would like to maintain.
Yeah.
If you talk back to your mental health, it's like, I don't really suffer from my mental health, even through periods of time where I probably would or should, but exercise and maintaining that physicality has helped me kind of stay on top of it.
Yeah. I mean, people have said to me, like, when I lost my dad, oh, you've come straight back, you've handled it really well. But this is what's helped me.
This is how you handle it.
This is how it's handled. I've handled it. Yes, you get moments, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. But that's life, isn't it? You know what I mean? I've got to get on with it. And my dad would have wanted me to get on with it, you know what I mean? And I know that.
Yeah, and it goes back to that point we mentioned earlier, that to build mental resilience, you have to build.
You've got to build
it, and you can do that with lifting weights. People can't appreciate, how can lifting some weights help you combat anxiety, depression? And I'm like, it's the resilience there. Me going against something uncomfortable, strenuous, challenging, crosses over into daily life. So definitely. When I'm met with something that is uncomfortable, stress-inducing, my body and my mind's going, we've experienced something similar to this and we've overcome it. And that's where the crossover is. So yes, lifting weight and managing it will totally help you manage a stressful life situation that's just you're going to experience anyway. So you coming back in early is like, in my opinion, like the best thing you could have done, because it's going to help you practice that resiliency even more. So when you have the moments with family or whatever, that you're then like, I'm built for this. I've trained for this.
Yeah.
I'm more than competent to deal with it.
Yeah.
And probably the worst thing you could do is delay it.
And the other thing as well, when you're actually, because obviously after doing, different jobs when I was working at the leisure centres and one thing and another, when I went into caring, they also think that's quite a physical job as far as moving people and getting in the right position and having the strength to actually, I mean, I know you've got to use your plumb line, you do all this moving and handling, and you have got equipment, but you've got to be able to handle this equipment. And you know, like floorings, like moving a hoist on carpet is really hard. You know what I mean? So there's all these things that help you in your, you know, in your daily life as far as everyday activities.
Well, it's one thing that people don't comprehend because they're not at that stage of their life yet. Where if you just keep yourself physically active, as you said, and you've got these either work or life demands, there'll be a point where you need physicality as you get older. So getting in and out of bed.
Yeah.
There's 60-year-olds I know of that cannot get in and out of bed, cannot. And when you look at their lifestyle, they've never been physically active.
No.
And then if we compare and contrast, let's just use you as an example, mid-60s, fit, healthy, independent, strong, resilient, and here's another mid-60s that's not looked after their body, and their body's then given up, deserted them, and they're struggling. And it's a case of just cracking on.
And the other thing is as well, you know, I've done 1 or 2 of these bio clinic sort of research things, because I always think that sort of helps. And all the questions that they ask you, like, do you smoke, do you drink, do you do this and do that? And when you say no to all these things,
really,
you think, that's pretty great, that is, you know what I mean?
So,
don't smoke, don't drink, don't do this, don't do that.
We know as our society that the average person is extremely unhealthy, probably smokes, probably drinks in excess, eats a lot of crappy food, and just not in great shape. And all the research and evidence is around it that you don't want to live that way if you want to become ailment free in some way. And it's quite, you know.
And your workshops have helped as well. That's made me understand nutrition even more.
Nutrition's a minefield simply because people get given a load of information that's there to muddy the water to then sell product. And there'll be some places where, like, nutrition is simple. It's hard to apply because that's changing behaviour, but there's simplicity to it of eating whole grain, loads of fruit and veg, lean protein, hydrate yourself. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And then some of the information put out there is either there to muddy it, so they sell stuff, or there's even information out there that's like, you don't need to know that. You know, there's levels to information. You don't need to know it at that level. You know, it's not like you're a nutritionist or dietitian, or you haven't got these health ailments where we can, you know, sort of affected by nutrition. So there's some information out there that people are like, well, what about this? I'm like, you don't really, shouldn't bother you. You shouldn't need to know that. Just kind of focus on this for me. Don't worry about that. You don't need to know. So it's either like too much information or information clouding to then sell product. And that's what people struggle with. But it is about my job is to kind of clear the water and point at stuff that ignore that, focus on these. And weirdly, when people do it, they lose weight, they feel happier, healthier, their skin improves, their hair improves. And it's like, yeah, you're just eating some stuff that we know you should have eaten. We've known this for like 50, 60 years. The research hasn't really changed in terms of healthy eating. In terms of your future aspirations and goals, what do you envision with your training kind of moving towards 70s?
Bloody hell. Oof. Just like to keep going. Just keep going. Just keep as much as I can, you know what I mean? Yeah. Just keep doing what I'm doing.
I think that's one of the best bits of advice for people anyway, whether they know it or not. Just keep going.
Keep going, keep moving.
It might not be as often as you'd like it.
Yeah.
It might not be as what it once was.
Yeah.
But just keep going.
Yeah.
You know, try something new, try and redirect. Do a bit of swimming, do a bit of running, do a bit of spin, do a bit of gym, do a bit of classes. But whatever you're doing, don't stop.
No, just keep doing it. Yeah.
I think that's
I think my dad, he went from taekwondo to aikido, and he kept doing it until he was about 80, I think. But then he just knew that and I think that broke his heart actually, when he just knew that he'd got to give it up. But it was his back. He had problems with his back, and his mobility was really bad.
That's one thing that I try and rebuttal a lot, because you'll hear this from just negative people who is like, what's the point anyway? Because at some point, and they just totally miss the point that I can prolong this. At some point, my body is going to let me down.
But it's the people you meet along the way. It's the journey,
and it's
isn't
the process.
It's the journey and everything.
And weirdly, I can extend that journey. I know via research and via examples that if I just keep turning up and lifting a bit of weight, challenging my heart rate, working on my mobility, just do this often, that I'll hit my 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And while it may look different, I will reap the benefits of it, and it will bleed as long into my life. So hopefully that I know when you approach the end of your journey, that it's only right at the end where you're like, oh, I can't no longer do that. And it's right at the end.
Yeah.
That would be massive success for me.
Yeah.
I think, me personally, that's the way I'd want to go out, live my life, and finish the journey. That I've reaped the benefit until the very last drop. I've kind of emptied that. I've kept this vessel going so I can literally make the most out of every single bit of that journey overall.
Definitely. What we don't want no osteoporosis and all that, do we?
No thanks.
Brittle bones. And I never went on HRT. I mean, I never, had to do that. So that kept me, the exercise. So
you've gone through
getting sweaty and
the two biggest thing for females. Giving birth, menopause. The common denominator is you've kept yourself fit and healthy, and you've gone through both of those traumatic for the body periods and gone through it.
Okay.
Come out swinging. Amazing. Ruth, I just want to say thanks. You're a massive inspiration.
Thanks.
And I know people are going to be well interested to hear parts of your story and just kind of, lovely. I know it's going to inspire them to just
that's really good.
Keep going.
Well, I'm glad that, that's, gives me some self-worth, you know what I mean, to think that I am an inspiration. That's
you
lovely.
Are, and it's amazing to see.
But I mean, I can't say enough thanks to you though as well.
No, more
because without you keep me going, definitely, without a doubt.
Awesome.
When I hear your voice, that's it.
Oh, it has numerous effects, don't it?
It does.
Numerous effects.
Fear of God.
Some people tremble, some people get excited just by the dulcet tones of my voice. I just want to say thanks for tuning in today's podcast, and a massive thanks to Ruth for joining me. Please remember to like, follow, and subscribe. And in the meantime, stay healthy and stay active. Have a great day. See you later.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode of the Witness the Fitness Podcast.